Okay, so someone did something that you didn't like. Do you know for sure why they did or said that particular thing? Or are you assuming their actual motive? Now, sometimes they'll tell you exactly what they're thinking or feeling or why they did it. And sometimes they want to hurt you. But if you're in a decent relationship with somebody and they do something that you're like, that hurt my feelings, I don't like that, I don't deserve that, and then you make an assumption about why they said or did that particular thing. Now, here's the thing. Like, what if somebody says something you don't like, but they don't seem affected at all by your emotional response or by your response, or if you make a response? They just move on and they forget you and they leave you there and you're ticked. What do you do with that? Do you go and you fight and say you fight? What does that fight resolve? Do you actually talk about why they said and did what they said or did? Do you ask them? Do you just get angry? And you, if you're a normal human being, don't have psychic powers. So you can't, or I shouldn't say psychic, I should say telepathic powers where you can read other people's minds. If you can read other people's minds, then you don't need to listen to me at all. If you, like most of us, can't read other people's minds, and don't read people's faces either and believe that you've got it all. You may get it a lot of the time, but not all the time, and I certainly can't do it. That's one of my worst skills. So I'm not telepathic, and I don't read people's faces very well. So I usually make mistakes when it comes to relationship. So what I've learned to do is to step back and ask, not assume anything. Assume that I don't know anything about this person. I know nothing. And that allows me to engage them from a teach me about yourself perspective instead of, well, Matt knows best. That's much safer for me. Now, it's the exact opposite of what my natural tendency is. And part of this conversation, I was thinking about a parent that I talked to the other day who might want to do some coaching with me, or who's having trouble with a kid, frankly. And what parent doesn't have trouble with their kid? How much of the trouble is you as a parent injecting yourself or projecting yourself onto or into this child, into the situation, where you're the one, you're stating, well, child, you're doing these things because of X, Y, and Z. Then if you're to ask the child, why are you doing these things? They'll probably tell you, I don't know. Which isn't totally true. They do know, they don't want to tell you. Or they don't know because they don't know what they don't know. And they haven't stopped and actually thought about it, about the way they feel or what their values might be that are being trod on, right? Or it's just simply that they are an independent, functional human being who wants to do their own thing. Shoot, my 2-year-old today, we were getting out of the car. It's an expedition, so it's kind of high up. And he yells at me, self. And I look at him like, oh, that's right. You want to get out of the car by yourself, on your own. He wants to be independent. And I'm stopping that. And that gets in the way of him, and he gets angsty about it, and he yells at me. And then my tendency is to yell back at him, because why are you yelling at me in the first place? I didn't do anything wrong. Well, from his perspective, I did do something wrong. So trying to pull back and say, like, okay, well, who are you? Who is this person, and what are they trying to achieve? You know, I've known him for 2 years. My 9-year-old I've known for 9 years, and I still haven't figured her out at all. That's not totally true. I've got a pretty good handle on. She's a lot like me, only she's female, and she's more tender than I am. Yay. But it really helps to stop assuming that I know what's going on inside of their heads, that I understand what they want and what they're trying to achieve. It's the number one problem in relationships, is we're not clear. And oftentimes the presenting party, the one that's trying to present, like my 2-year-old, self, it's not a clear statement of desire. It's emphatic, sure, but it's like I got to interpret his, gobbledygook. And he's actually quite articulate, and especially when he's happy. and well fed. Another one of those topics, but and well breasted. But anyway, it's my job as the parent to step back and try and figure out what he's trying to communicate, because he is not going to meet me on my level. Is your 10-year-old supposed to meet you on your level, parent? Or your 15-year-old supposed to meet you on your level? I mean, maybe the 15-year-old, because they're basically an adult at this point and they can be responsible for themselves. They can feed themselves, clothe themselves, go get a job. But up until that point where they're really kind of autonomous, like my 9-year-old, pretty dang autonomous, not cognitively developed fully yet. And part of that's just life experience of not understanding or not experiencing enough things in life to cause her mental horizon to broaden. So, the kids they're stuck in school and they've got a small social network usually, and anyway. So, but going back, if you're struggling with a child, remember, I'm not a psychologist here. I study a little bit, but I'm just a life coach. Step back and observe what's going on, how you're feeling, how they're feeling. Then ask some questions. What's going on? What do you want? Show me. Tell me. Like with a 2-year-old, it's show me works a whole lot better than tell me, because they can't tell it. They can't articulate it. And with older kids, as they're struggling through things like, well, what are you feeling? And when you get an I don't know, then that just means you need to be patient. Okay. Why don't you sit down and think about it for a minute? Because I know that's hard. And eat some food while you're at it if you're angsty. If your kid is angsty, feed them. I can't imagine. You'd be amazed at how often food changes the entire environment. And yeah, half the time, like my oldest son, he doesn't want to eat when he's angsty. Too bad. We have a fight over that one too. But 5 minutes later, after he's eaten a huge snack, he realized that he was hungry. He comes back. He's a normal human being. We can have a conversation. We can work through stuff. So yeah, if you're fighting with your children, you probably are not knowing what is going on inside their minds and hearts. Mind being what they're thinking and their heart being what they're feeling. And they're oftentimes not aware either, because they haven't spent time articulating it to themselves or to anybody else who will listen and listen in a manner that is respectful of them. And I think as parents, those children are entrusted to us for a season, and it's 18 years, or whatever, 16 years. I'd like to have an emancipation party at 17 for my kids. Say, you're an adult, you're independent, go. But none of this 26-year-old stuff. Anyway, we'll get into my story later. But you can help your kid by learning what's going on, by asking those good questions and being patient and spending the actual time on the front end learning what's going on, instead of assuming falsely that you know what's going on, that you know what's best for them, that you know what they want, because you're the adult.